So today I thought I would touch upon the different ways in which you can view the same event. I need to repeat because it's clear to me that some people are not hearing this or not getting the message. I am putting out a video a day for Vlogmas until December 25th on YouTube. I am also putting a video a day on my members section. So if you are a member, this program is available to you for free in your membership at any level. If you're not a member, you can become a member at any level and you are free to cancel at any time, but this Vlogmas program will only be available until the end of the month. There's also quizzes and challenges and all sorts of other things going on in there. There's a group in which you can interact with other Vlogmas members, and there's also a group for anybody who is a site member who would like to discuss Vlogmas in there. The site membership is free, but you do not have access to Vlogmas. You only have access to free videos that I do not upload to YouTube or Bitchute. They're just a little bit more sensitive videos. You can become a member of the Discord group for free. All the links are below. I also provide additional content to my members. And as membership grows, I will be building on what I can provide. I started the membership program in August, and I have been adding to it since. I will be doing a live chat for Vlogmas on Sunday at my usual time, which was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not going to go for 3 hours though. I will be doing it privately for Vlogmas members only. If you are a member, make sure you sign up to the Vlogmas program. So on the menu at the top, it says Vlogmas 2023. If you hover over that, a sub menu pops up and it says Vlogmas program, and you click on that and it will take you to the program where you can click to join. And if you are a member, you should be able to get in for free. If you're not a member, it will ask you to register as a member. You click to join and then you scroll down to the bottom. You probably have to click to join again. And then it will pop up and show you the day's activities that you have, and you can binge watch from November 30th to now and answer all the quizzes and everything. And when you complete the program, you get a badge. Competition is steep now. We have one person who's at 100% and another one close on their heels at 93%, and quite a lot of recent joiners, so they have a little bit of catching up to do. It's nice to see everyone participating, and I'm getting a lot of really great feedback about the program and about the videos and how it's helping people. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it fun and light, but at the same time introspective, and to help you along your journey no matter where you are at it. If you like my content, this is a great way for you to show your support, and this is an opportunity for me to give additionally to my members as a thank you for the support throughout the year. So yeah, the Vlogmas program is really beneficial for anybody looking to accelerate their ascension process. I mean, I say accelerate, but you can only take so much, so it's at your own pace, but it's also helpful to guide you away from diversions and unnecessary distractions. So what I wanted to discuss today was to do with multiple ways of looking at events in your life. And I discovered this when I did my Back to the Future experience. Again, I'll mention that if you haven't seen that video, it's only available on my website and it's free to site members. If you become a site member, you also have access to groups on the membership, the app, and the newsletter. So when I had the Back to the Future experience, I went back into my past and looked at a certain experience and changed it. And I went back to the very beginning of my life story. And in changing it, it changed the perspective I had throughout the course of my life. It changed the events in my life and that sort of thing. What also came out of that was being able to look at an experience from multiple angles at the same time. Because usually when something happens to us, we have a set accumulation of beliefs that we have about people and the world, about our experience, about how things are and how things should be, and we map that onto the world and how we interact with it, or how it's projected out of us. One way in which you can change your experience and your reality is by looking at things a different way. So when something happens and normally you react to it without thinking, instead of reacting, take a moment and look at it and see if there's a different way you can look at it. See if there's a different assumption you can make about it. Even if you can just get to the point where you look at something and you recognize the assumption that you are making. So say, for example, let's say you have a belief that all women are nasty, and you encounter someone at work who happens to be a woman and she does something nasty. But it's kind of borderline. It could be that she's having a bad day. It could be that she didn't even interact with you. It could be that you're misinterpreting it. It could be, there's a multitude of possibilities that's going on here. But your assumption is all women are nasty. And so if you experience from this woman, say she's having a bad day and she's like swearing and cussing and you're just like, what? That nasty woman. It reinforces your belief that all women are nasty. But if you want to start to see women in a different light, then you would have to change that belief and say, well, is that actually true? Can I change that to something else? How do I want to view women? I want to view them as all women are lovely and sweet and kind. And when you encounter someone like that who is having a bad day and she's cussing and swearing, now your perspective, your filter is that all women are lovely. So you're not going to look at that experience the same way. So you have empathy for her situation, perhaps. So you go over to her and you say, are you all right? Can I help you? And then she turns, instead of snapping at you, which she would have done in your belief that all women are nasty, you probably would have said, oh, shut up or whatever. Now your perspective is different. So you're offering to help. And then she would turn around and say, oh, you're such a sweetheart. It's so kind of you to offer. I've just been having a horrible day. This happened and this happened and this happened. You just turned my day around. You're such a sweetheart. Thank you. And you would leave thinking, oh my goodness, what a wonderful woman. She's so lovely. So in your assumption of what you think other people are, then they will act that way around you. So you can change that. You can make it anything you want. It's all your interpretation. So yes, the incident that happened stayed the same. The woman was cussing and blah, 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 blah. But from the outside, you're the observer looking at this incident, and you're making an assumption of it based off of all your belief systems. So you have the opportunity to look at it from any perspective and see how that changes things. You can do that. If you didn't do it in the moment, you can do that after the fact, which is partly the Back to the Future experience, because that's about revision, which has to do with law of assumption. Again, it's all about your assumptions of how you perceive the world. So if you, say, had a bad experience with this woman and you cussed her out for swearing or whatever, and you got into a big fight and a big argument, and you look back on it and go, well, that didn't go well, did it? How do I change that so that I get a better outcome? And then you say, well, what do I want to believe? And then you go back and apply the lovely thing, and then the whole thing changes. So when the scenario changes, even in your head after the fact, you're changing it when it happened, because there is no past and there's no future, so it's happening now. And so you have the opportunity to change it to any way you want, because all it was your interpretation of what happened. So this is an incredibly powerful tool, but on top of that, it isn't just that you have the ability to look at an event and say it's either this or that. you have the opportunity to look at an event from a 360 perspective and say, it's all of these things. It's all of them. It really gives you a different way of looking at the world and looking at your life. And it kind of frees you, because I'm getting the sense, maybe I'm wrong, I don't want to make assumptions here. I'm getting the sense that there's a big divide. There's people who, they're like, yeah, I get it. I'm all into a law of assumption. I know what you're talking about. And then there are people who are like, I don't know what you're talking about. The way you think is crazy or whatever. Understandable. If you're not practicing law of assumption, then I can understand that might be a little bit hard to grasp. But if you're in the realm of truth, you should be open-minded to all of that. I got a good one for you. Okay. Let's talk levels of perception for a second here. So you have base perception, where you believe the physical is physical and tangible, and there's nothing on the other side. When you die, you die. The material is it. You're totally materialistic. That's like really base. Then let's say you're a little bit further up and you see that there's some spirituality here. There's energies. You might have the perspective of angels and demons and spirits and ghosts and that sort of thing. ESP, telepathy, communication with the other side, talking to dead people, that sort of thing. Then you might have the perspective as well that you can manifest. So all is mind, and you can manifest, but you still believe that the physical, and then there's the spiritual. You don't really know what's on the other side, but you know that your mind has some power over your experience, but you still think that there's external interaction. You still think that there is some kind of physical experience outside of you. Then you move on to the level where the whole world is a stage, everything is a play, and it's all fake. Higher than that, you realize that it's all you, and you're manifesting it all. It's all fake because you're the one who's creating it, because it's all changeable. So when you change how you think, people start to change, events start to change, things start to fall apart. So you kind of see things, what's going on? Why is that so weird? Then you get to an even higher level, and you can see that you're the one who's doing it, you're the one who's creating it, and that everything is a projection of what is within you, and it is all for you and all serving you because it is you. So everything that happens here in your experience is directly tailored to you. So those are different levels of perception. And that's also what I was talking about earlier about having different ways of looking at certain things. You can even look at something from a variety of perspectives within that spectrum, as well as the 360 spectrum of all the different opinions or beliefs or assumptions that you can have about a specific event. The other thing that goes hand in hand with the assumptions that you make about whatever has happened is what you're doing is you're building a story. And this whole world is a torus. Taurus is an anagram for story. Tarot is an anagram for story. Tarot, Taurus. So it's all a word play or a play on words. So when you use stories that you tell yourself about what happened to you, about what happened at that particular event, and you repeat it over and over again, it solidifies into fact for you. And so you've heard the adage, I guess, of several people who are a witness to an accident, and they all have a different perspective. And the assumption or the deduction from that is that you can't trust what people witness. Yes and no. The thing is you have 12 different people at an accident, and they have 12 different stories because they have 12 different perspectives. They're not all standing from the same vantage point. They're not all in the same headspace. They're not all looking at the same thing. Their attention is divided from maybe one person's looking at one car and the other person's looking at the other car. Maybe one person is looking at the person who ran off and another one's looking at the wounded. So when you combine all of the stories, then you get a better perspective on the whole. That's what's happening here in the whole world, is that we each have our vantage point and we each have our perspective and our own individual story or Taurus that we tell ourselves. And so when you put them all together, you have the collective consciousness, which is the purpose of us being here in the first place. It doesn't necessarily mean that their perspective is invalid. It doesn't necessarily mean it's unreliable. Point is, though, the whole thing is just an illusion anyway. So but let's just say that, it's part of the play. So it's an experience and there's people there who are experiencing it. But this is kind of like you are each of those 12 people. So you can simultaneously see the perspective of that accident from all their vantage points at the same time, if you choose to. And that's just by using your head. You just look at things from a different perspective as if you were there. It's just an exercise. It's an exercise for you to expand your perception and consider that there's more than one way or two ways to look at something. Usually you'll get into an argument with somebody who, let's say you were both at this accident and you say it was the red car's fault and he says it was the blue car's fault. And the reason being, from your vantage point, that's how it looked to you. But it's also down to your beliefs about the road rules, your beliefs about what's right and wrong. And so when you filter those in, then you have a better idea as to why one person thinks that somebody is at fault versus the other. If you stick to, say, the events that happened, say things like, well, the red car stopped first and then the blue car ran the intersection and hit the red car, but the red car was actually a little over the line, so it's hard to say who's at fault. But if you're starting to get in there, well, I think that this person's at fault because I believe that he shouldn't have been over the line, and I believe that the blue car's at fault because I believe he shouldn't have been speeding through the intersection. So that's where you start to get your beliefs filtering in there, and you get your opinions filtering in there, and assumptions. And it's interesting too, because usually when you talk to the police, it's just the facts, ma'am. They just want the facts, or a reporter, just the facts, because they're trying to determine what happened. They don't care about your opinion. You're the one who cares about your opinion. You're the one who cares about who's right or wrong and how it went. But then you end up arguing with the other person and their perspective because you think your perspective is right, and you think your beliefs and opinions are right, and they think the same about theirs. But from each person's vantage point, you're both right and you're both wrong. Okay, so like there's no out there. I understand that the mirror is right here, right? That our experience, it's like being in a dream, that the things we call into our experience are there because we're focused on it, and there because we call it in, there because we want it to be there. Even if it's a negative experience, the negative experiences are called in either to clear away a block that needs to be removed so that you can call in the experience that you really want. And we're the ones who make it negative because it hurts or we don't like it or it's uncomfortable. The only way you grow is through being uncomfortable. You can't grow if you're stagnating and comfortable all the time. So you get to the point where you have to realize that the negative experiences are only negative because you called them that, and because it makes you uncomfortable, it creates pain or suffering. But if you're looking at things in a sort of non-dualistic way and you realize that they're just two halves of the same coin, then you're not as attached to the negative as being negative. You can see it for what it is. You can see it as serving a purpose. And yeah, it's not pleasant, but you can make it pleasant. You can change your perspective on it. Say you lost your job, but it was a job you really loved. And at the moment it causes pain and suffering, and you really didn't want to lose your job, so you start fighting for it. But because you're trying to change things in the physical, it's not working. There's a reason you lost your job. There's something you asked for, or there's something that you wanted. And if you want your job back, all you need to do is go within and assume that you have your job back. Or you can sit back and reflect and say, well, how come I lost my job? What caused me to lose my job? And you think, oh, I was thinking about this. And then you can either correct it and get your job back, or realize I was thinking about wanting a better job. I was thinking about wanting a raise, and that company can't afford to give me a raise right now. So maybe the reason I lost my job is because I wanted another job, better paying job, and that's around the corner, and I needed to lose that job in order to have the other job. So losing the job is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you look at it that way, it can be a bad thing. I mean, some people lose their jobs and they can't function after that. They don't know what they're going to do in life. It's that devastating. I think one of the things I'm trying to get at is to have a different perception. Is like an exercise to see how things change by changing your perception of either an event or revising an event, and see how it changes the story and changes your life. The other is to have a different perception of the world and how it functions, and get out of the 3D. And the only way you're going to get out of the 3D is to do a perception exercise. That's it. And the first indicator that it's perception is when you saw the world one way, and then you found out the truth and realized the world isn't how you thought it was. That should be a huge indicator to you that it's your perception that made it seem that way. But it isn't all that obvious, because you've been seeing the world one way all your life until the point where you realize that the world isn't this way. And instead of realizing that it's your perception that's caused the change, you think that the world has always been this way, therefore all I'm doing is seeing it for what it is, which is true, because you have now found another way of looking at things, and you're now seeing the other side. So the duality is now apparent. You didn't see that side before. You didn't see that there were all these lies. Once your perception changes to seeing that there were all these lies, it's difficult to get out of that perception, because now you're still in that 3D thinking, looking at it thinking, well, it's still the 3D. It's just there was all this ickiness lurking underneath. But your opportunity here is to elevate your perception, and it just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. I hope you're enjoying Vlogmas. See you tomorrow.